Yeah. Well, now, as I often say, from the slushy shores of the North Saskatchewan River, right here in scenic Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, this is your host Scott Roos for Down to the River Radio Show, and on the line with me today is, probably a bucket list interview for me. I mean, I'm shocked that this interview hasn't, occurred, further back. But this is Bif Naked on the line with me today. How are you doing, Biff?
Hello, hello. I'm doing very well. How are you doing in beautiful Prince Albert, Saskatchewan?
Well, I'm great. I'm great. I will say that up until the summer of 2018, I was living in Yellowknife, and I'm not sure if you ever went up to Yellowknife for Folk on the Rocks.
I did. I
Aha.
don't know if it was for that. It was so many years ago.
Yeah.
But I have been up there before, and it's beautiful. There's no other place like it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, now you were about to tell me before I hit record that there's a bit of a Prince Albert connection.
Well, absolutely there is. First and foremost, I would like to say hello to my stepmom, Anita, who is a retired nurse living in the heart of Prince Albert. My late father, my dad, may he rest in peace. He's still laughing. He is still laughing as he rolls over. Um, he lived in Prince Albert from 1992 up until he passed away.
Wow.
That's right. So I was there very frequently. Every time I played in Saskatoon, for example, and over the years, a couple times in PA, I would always go to their house and raid their refrigerator and hang out in beautiful Prince Albert. They lived over on River, and yeah, amazing. Just a beautiful community.
Oh wow, wow. So I mean, you would totally know the geography. I'm up in East Hill. That's where I'm talking to you from now.
Oh, how interesting! Yeah, very. It's just beautiful up there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the cool thing about PA is, you're not in the city of Saskatoon proper, but of course you're spitting distance away, and then you can also make a drive up to Candle Lake, or you go up a little further north and you're in Waskesiu, so you've got all those, fishing and hiking and camping options, and you've got all the amenities of Saskatoon, and all of the, the beautiful and lovely live music venues out there as well.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. The Saskatchewan River is basically our Mississippi. I always kind of say it's a heritage river.
Right.
Yeah, and it's great. And the boreal forest. I mean, we could go on and on.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, now, of course, the purpose of my call is that you are, in these crazy topsy-turvy times where things are changing literally by the second. You've got on the horizon, you've got a new full length about to come out called Champion, and maybe just I want to say in the last week or so, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you dropped a brand new single called Jim.
Yes, I did. Yeah, it's a very exciting time. It's an exciting year. That's for sure. Everybody wanted a lot of different stuff this year. Well, we're in it. We are in it.
Yeah, we've got the full smorgasbord, but before we go into the song, I do see that you've done your part as an artist, and you put out a hand washing video. That's that you can't really underscore too much the importance of washing your hands just over the next weeks and months to come.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very scary. I mean, people talk about the collective anxiety and the community consciousness and whatnot, but the truth is, it's horrifying, actually. It really is. And it's just it doesn't seem like it is that big of a deal, but really it does help, and it will help mitigate the spread.
Yeah. Well, now, how are you handling this? Like, are you, hunkered down and basically, doing your part by, not getting out, and, social distancing, and, self isolation and so on and so forth?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I had a speaking event in Vancouver, for example, coming up in April, and that, we just decided we're not going to do any traveling. We're not going to contribute to the airplane germs.
Yeah.
And so that's been postponed. A lot of our stuff's been postponed, but just from day to day, being stuck, our apartment, we live in Toronto now. We moved here from Vancouver 2 years ago. And it's kind of okay for people like us because we are basically we've been starving artists for 30 years. Nothing's changed. And we
Yeah.
work from home. So that's not too much of an issue. But, I have stepsisters in Saskatoon and PA area
Yeah.
who work on the front lines as police officers. I have a stepsister who's a dentist. Obviously, they can't work.
Yeah.
And, my sister in Winnipeg, she can't go to work. Her kid can't go to school. And my niece is a special needs kid. There is no daycare anyway.
Yeah.
But it would be closed anyway. So, this is really just really hard for people, even though it seems simple to stay at home. Plus, I think of a lot of people who do have routines where they're not stuck with their spouse or their family for, 23 hours a day.
Yeah.
So that's, that puts a lot of pressure on families. And I think people don't really realize that it's actually okay to acknowledge the fact that, man, this is not easy. It is not easy being around your family 24/7.
Yeah. No, speaking of, from being in that position myself, I mean, of course, in the quote unquote real world, I'm a teacher, and,
Right?
we just had our schools kind of, shut down
Yes.
just because of this whole crisis. And it's, for a teacher in this time when you're used to that social connection with, fellow teachers and of course the students
Yes.
who you care so dearly about, it's been really hard on our collective mental health, just not really getting that opportunity to say goodbye.
Yes, absolutely. It's weird. And doing reality checks, I find kind of helps, but not really, because then we just feel guilty.
Yeah.
So, for example, a reality check, I heard a fantastic program this morning talking about the impact it has in a place like South Africa, for example, where they're just starting in Africa to be able to track the virus and experience it there. We don't really understand that, because we live in a vast place. There's a lot of remote locations in Canada. It's not the same in a lot of places in the world. They're shoulder to shoulder, 24/7. 7 million people are shoulder to shoulder in some of these modern slums and whatnot, in these shanty towns. And, it's really scary, to think about how they're going to be able to stop the spread of a virus like this, because they just can't.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's a heavy conversation, no doubt, and I mean it's definitely something that has to be taken very seriously. But I was just gonna say, on a lighter note, now in that same hand washing video, you are wearing a King Diamond T-shirt, and I know people have pointed out and been like, "Whoa, what? Bif Naked is a King Diamond fan?" I mean, how long has this been going on?
Of course. I mean, I'm a prairie kid, so all of us grew up listening to metal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we grew up on. And, there's lots of different metal bands. I find that that's really a creative genre of music. They're very theatrical. When you get into the dark metal and the death metal and the Norwegian black metal, and, it's very theatrical. And we had Gwar, as little thrash or punk kids in the early 90s. And again, it was the theater kids that were making bands like this, and they were memorable, and they're huge spectacles when you go see them in performance. So definitely King Diamond is up there for us.
Yeah, yeah. I saw you posted the video to Welcome Home, just so maybe some of your fans that hadn't heard of the King might be able to familiarize themselves. Now that's probably King's most famous track, but I mean, what are some of your favorite tracks by King apart from that?
Well, I think a lot of people don't know that King Diamond is making new music all the time, just like
That's
a lot
true.
of bands, and people don't really realize that, because they associate a lot of these bands with just, quite frankly, just with their old stuff. I don't know if you, back in the day, there was Abigail, was an album, and then Fatal Portrait, which my spouse, Snake, always makes a reference to, because of course we want to order all the T-shirts all the time, and because it's fun, and it does get a reaction, and it's not a common thing that you see around. The record that I'm most familiar with, I'm going to say, is the Puppet Master.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, this stuff is like, it's dark and creepy, but the thing that I love the most about King Diamond really is the vocal and the vocal delivery. I can't sing like that. I wish I had that kind of talent, because it does take a lot of talent. I mean, it really, really does.
Yeah.
To be able to utilize the vocal cords in that way, it's just unbelievable. The way the vocals are delivered and consistently on tour. I can't even imagine this kind of a falsetto and stuff like that. It's just it's so cool.
Well, he can switch so seamlessly between the falsetto and his, I guess for lack of a better word, normal vocal range, that it's quite the thing. And you can go and you can see countless fan made and also pro shot videos of King out there, and in the day and age of the internet, where he's pulling it off no problem, even after I think a few years ago he had a triple or a quadruple bypass surgery, and he still manages to get out and do his thing. It's quite the thing to just see.
That's unbelievable, isn't it? But
Yeah.
it goes to show you a lot of musicians, myself included, we grew up basically making music, and because of that, we're getting older. I mean, think about it. Heart surgery. Hey, I can totally relate. I had heart surgery in 2012. Who knew? Who knew this would be? And we keep playing music. We keep touring because we can. And that's just like our generation, I think, will be the first generation that doesn't retire. We don't retire, partly because we can't. Like our parents, they could just kind of retire, because for whatever reason they save their money. But now in this day and age of the world, there's no money to save for people. Everybody lives check to check. Doesn't matter what your job is, and we don't retire, because we don't have to, because we're artists. But B, probably because most people aren't going to retire, because we just can't. We got to keep working.
For sure. Well, now, bringing things around, of course, I mentioned off the top that you're, you've released a new track off your forthcoming full-length Champion entitled Jim. I mean, I know there's quite a lengthy explanation that's given in the press release, but what are the cliff notes in terms of Jim, and then does Jim sort of characterize the entire vibe of Champion as a whole? Like, what can you tell us about that?
Well, I've been really lucky as an artist. Since my first record, I've been able to put out super eclectic records. I get to do kind of whatever I want stylistically, and I've always really maintained that. We were alternative kids, so we listened to, we saw those early tours where Public Enemy went on tour with Anthrax.
Yeah.
We were the first bunch that was kind of, we liked punk rock, we liked thrash, we liked hip hop. We could listen to raw bass in the morning and then listen to DRI at night,
Right.
And there was nothing wrong with that. And then, bands like Jane's Addiction started coming out of California. And then, of course, grunge happened. And so we've really been lucky. And as a result of that, my own artistic way of doing things just kind of includes every style of music. So I've always kind of tried to do that on every record, where I've got a real variety. And this record is no different. I haven't put a record out in about a decade, because I just haven't really wanted to, a million reasons. We made a couple records and we shelved them. And we pull some of those songs out from time to time. I did a side project called Snake in the Chain, and we played in Saskatoon on tour with the Headstones.
Oh, nice.
2 years ago. And so Snake in the Chain pulled out some of these tracks that I had done for a dance record, if you can believe it. And that was loads of fun.
Uh-huh.
But this is the first time I've made a studio record with the intention of really making a record that was cohesive. And we started writing, Snake and I started writing with Doug. So these are, two guitar players that I write with,
Uh-huh.
one of whom is my spouse. And we just started making these tunes that, for all three of us, I think, felt like a real evolution for us artistically and personally. And lyrically, for me, I attack lyrics in a very thoughtful way, and I'm very, very deliberate with what I am saying and how I want to utilize language, I guess. So we're really proud of the songs, and kind of halfway through, just basically writing together, we were like, holy shit, we have a record. Let's make a record. Wow, let's really do this. Like, let's do it with passion and do it seriously. And that's kind of how it happened. The songs are different from each other. I want to release 3 songs and then put the album out on my 3rd release. Just because I think that the order people listen to things is important enough to me as an artist. That I want to make sure at least these are in the correct order.
Right.
Because nowadays we get to just cherry pick, when we listen to music, whether or not we buy a song or we can stream songs backwards to forwards, whatever. But I really wanted these 3 songs in a row. So we have 2 other singles planned. And Jim really was the first one because I thought that it was a different enough sound for me. From probably the last thing I did, that people would be curious enough about it to take an interest in it.
Sure.
But also it really is, I think, the quintessential Bif sound that I really wanted to make sure that I brought with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the tone is very bitter, and of course, the subject material is quite harsh as well. I mean, I think you had a way of characterizing, the persona or character of Jim. Am I right? Like, there's a bit of a story behind this.
Yeah, the video was a lot of fun to make. Ultimately, the gist of the song is really about a betrayal. And the lyric goes, "You never loved me, Jim. You made a fool of me again and again." And that, I think all of us can relate to that. It doesn't have to be Jim. It can be, Shelley, or it could be our boss, or whatever the case. Yeah. And I just think that the video was loads of fun. We wanted to do a video that was in reverse. We wanted to tell a story in reverse. So basically at the end is the big reveal. And to be able to do boxing is my thrill, because I'm a secret boxing lover. I wish I could be a boxer, of course. And so it was just lots of fun to make it. And Doug Fury, of course, was the director on that video. So that was even more fun because he was behind the camera. Yeah.
Now, you just, I think, I hope at least, you managed to get a bit of an acoustic tour, just right under the wire before, the proverbial shit hit the fan. Am I right? Like, you managed to get those
You
dates
are correct, sir. Yes. We were very, very lucky. And definitely, I think back and, I don't know, I think I signed books and hugged and kissed people and did selfies with 200 people a night.
Yeah.
Because that's just, what we do for our acoustic shows. And I think all of us that were there, all of us, audience included and myself included, we were all very, very lucky that we got that in.
Yeah.
Before anybody was around any of us that may or may not have been sick. I think that we're all very lucky. We kind of locked ourselves away in the nick of time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was curious now because I know in 2012 you released Bif Naked Forever acoustic hits and other delights. I would imagine now that when you do these, acoustic tours, and I don't know how often you do them, like maybe this was a one-off, I'm not sure, but I mean, the challenges of performing some of these heavier or, more iconic songs, like I Love Myself Today, of course, which is probably your most well-known track. I mean, how do you approach those songs acoustically compared to if you were playing them, let's say going on a jaunt with, I think you were supposed to be going on a jaunt with Buck Cherry, I think, if my info in front of me is correct.
And that is still happening, my friend.
Right.
Very
on.
excited to say, and I have a feeling we are adding a Saskatoon date. So stay tuned, because we will be coming through Saskatoon with Buck Cherry, and the other band is called Age of Days. And I'm pretty confident they're going to make an announcement today or tomorrow about that. So funny you should mention the Buckers. But yeah, the acoustic stuff is actually really, really easy to do because we write everything that way. So all the songs that we've ever recorded, have been written on acoustic guitar with a vocal.
Uh-huh.
So they all start out this way. So to revisit them in that type of fashion is something that's really organic for us. It's very authentic to do it. And those concerts are 3-hour concerts. They, Snake always complains because I never shut up. And we talk and talk. I actually have a fractured leg from trying to jump on the stage. The very first show we did, which was in Fort Erie. And of course, the hospitals are kind of full, so it's not like I'm going to go to the hospital and get an X-ray.
Yeah.
But we love doing those acoustic shows. I wish I could do them. I wish I could do them all the time. I wish we were always doing them. And who knows, with what's going on in the world today, you never know. We're gonna go to, I don't know, hospitals or nursing homes or jails or something, and try and do our part to keep everybody high morale.
Yeah, for sure. I was just thinking now, I'm pretty sure this is taking things back, but I mean, I'm pretty sure the first time I heard a Bif Naked song was Daddy's Getting Married. And of course, you do it so eloquently on the acoustic hits and other delights. I mean, I would imagine that song is pretty straightforward. Like you're literally talking about the title of the song.
Oh, definitely. And that's exactly how it was written. And I never get tired of singing those songs ever. I just never do. And sometimes I still get lost in the tune. I've been known to cry singing Daddy's Getting Married, not just because my dad has passed away, but just because the lyric of the song is basically the child asking the mother not to cry. I just love singing them. I love writing them and I love singing them.
For sure. Well, now you did mention the dates that are being rescheduled with Buck Cherry. We talked a little bit, of course, of the full length. I mean, I don't think there's any set release date yet on Champion, probably just because of the way the world is right now. I suppose it would probably make a little bit more sense to hold off.
Oh, well, honestly, because I wanted to do the 3 songs first,
yeah,
I wasn't really planning to do a release on the album until the beginning of September.
Oh, okay.
So as it stands right now, that seems like it'll still be really a fantastic time. And for sure, by the time we are in Saskatoon, I believe it's the Coors. Is it called the Coors Event Center?
Yeah, it's changed names like 2 or 3 times, but yeah, I think Coors is the most. It was O'Brien's up until 2 or 3 years ago.
I see.
Yeah, but yeah, Coors.
That'll be in November.
Right.
So it'll actually work out that we'll probably be jumping between the Buck Cherry dates and touring for Champion. So it actually works out really, really well.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with Coors. It's that venue that's sort of close to Midtown. It's kind of a bigger venue. I mean, it's not as big as TCU, of course, but.
Right. Yeah. No, it's exciting. It's so exciting. I love coming there, and I have a long history. I mean, the first time I ever played in Saskatoon or PA for that matter was probably, I don't know, I was probably like 17 or 18 years old. So we're talking about like 1990.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's, it's weird to, like talk to a fellow Gen Xer, because, these days I'm either talking to, somebody much younger because, just what I do, or you know what I mean, like it's
sure. Oh yes, I do know what
all
you
of
mean.
These dates and names and places that you're throwing out from the 90s, man. It's I'm gonna have to go and blast some Nirvana or something after I get off the phone.
Or some Jane's Addiction.
Definitely.
I mean, it's just like, because those, I mean, at that time in history, really that stuff was so innovative. Like, I mean, I still name Bad Motorfinger as one of my all-time favorite records. And it's not just because of Kim Thayil's guitar. It's because of how the songs made me feel.
Yeah. Well, I remember when that record came out. Now, I was going to Capilano College. It's now called Capilano University, and I had a long, like 1 hour bus ride to get to the college every day. And
Wow.
I would have that record, and then on the flip side was Primus's Frizzle Fry, and I would listen to those two.
Unbelievable. Oh my God.
Yeah, like to this day, like whenever I hear the song "Outshined," it reminds me of that freaking up the hill and down the hill North Vancouver bus ride.
Amazing. That's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to listen to it too. Even when we were talking about DRI, I was like, oh my God, I gotta really listen to that. And a lot of those bands, I mean, they are still putting out music. Screeching
yeah,
Weasel just put out a record this week. I was like, I can't believe it. You
yeah,
know, I mean, I'm this age, so how old
yeah,
would that make them? Like, wow, this is amazing. My mind is always blown.
for sure. Well, listen, Biff, I better let you go. It's been awesome chatting with you today.
Yeah, it's been really great. I appreciate it. And maybe we can talk again before I come there in November.
For sure. Count on it.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Yep. Bye bye.
Bye.